been a long time and I miss this feeling. It feels like freedom, it feels like healing. Floating off the floor, past the ceiling. The wind in my hair, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel as I'm taking flight. Man, I'm feeling like myself again. Hey, man, I'm feeling like myself again. It's been a long time and I miss this feeling. It feels.
Hello, hip hop family. Welcome back to the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast. Peace and love to the hip hop fam. I am Melanie, the Hip Hop Scholar, and I want to welcome you all again to the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast, an unforgettable session of the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast. This is where knowledge meets rhythm, where memory meets movement, and where hip hop gets its flowers in real time. Now, tonight, we're not just doing any other episode. We're writing a chapter in the ongoing story of the culture. And for this moment, I had to call in someone who represents everything hip-hop was, is, and will always be. Tonight, we welcome a man who embodies the soul of the old school and the drive of the new school. A man whose pen carries weight, whose delivery carries history, and whose voice carries the kind of truth that you cannot fake. This is No Expressions, the big homie, the truth teller, the educator, the MC who knows that hip hop is more than a beat, more than a rhyme, and more than a moment. It's a lifestyle. It's knowledge of self. It's authenticity when the world tries to tell you something else. It's legacy. It's storytelling. It's nostalgia. And it's always about who's got next. Beyond the mic, No Expressions is putting his art into action with supporting his friend Sonny Alvarado's Raps for Snacks, helping hungry students. A movement that proves hip-hop can do more than entertain. It can heal, it can feed, and it can uplift communities. And if that wasn't enough, he's out here grinding on the road, rocking stages all around the West Coast as recently as part of the legendary Slap Frost Tour, a movement that's been carrying independent hip-hop across the country for over a decade strong, and you can check it out at slapfrost.com. You can also tap into No Expressions music directly on Bandcamp, where every project carries both message and momentum. You can hear No Expressions rhyme, but what you really hear is hip-hop teaching itself. This is not rap for clout. This is hip-hop as education, as storytelling, and as truth. We're going to talk about the eras, the golden age that laid the foundation, the new wave that's pushing boundaries, and the voices rising up right now that's ready to carry the torch forward. We're digging into the nostalgic moments that made us fall in love with the culture in the first place. Those first ciphers, those block parties, those tracks that changed everything. And let's be clear, hip-hop is not just entertainment, it's education. It's a tool for survival and a blueprint for the future. And tonight, No Expressions is here to remind us of that fact. His rhymes come with lessons, his performance comes with purpose, and his presence comes with power. So if you love hip-hop, and I mean really love hip-hop, then you already know what time it is. Turn your speakers up, call your people, and lock in with us right here, right now. Because the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast is about to take you on a journey from the old school to the new with California love holding it down. Family, show your love, show your respect, and make some noise for the one and only No Expressions. There we go.
Yeah.
In the building. All right. How you doing out there, Drew?
I'm doing good. I'm just thankful to be here. You know what I mean? You know, every day that we're able to get up, wake up and breathe is, got to be thankful all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm just very thankful right now. You know. So yeah.
Oh yes, as we all are thankful. Oh yeah, definitely very thankful. We got a live tonight. We have live people in the building. Yeah, got that in
Yeah.
the chat.
Yeah.
We got a couple of
Yeah.
people that's in our live chat. It's also posted in the YouTube for the live. So thank you all for joining in. And I know we'll have some comers coming in later on as well, because everybody wants to hear and learn from the No Expressions. All right. So with that being said, and as we go through and, technology is great when it works. But when I tell you that No Expressions is about to be a powerful conversation, about to share with us a lot of great wisdom when it comes to hip hop, present, past, and in the future, this is going to be a gleaming interview that I am super excited about, especially when it comes to that scholarly piece of what hip hop truly is and being the classic genre with the full respect that it deserves. No Expressions is a pillar of information, of legacy, and of the attributes, the true attributes of what hip hop truly is. So we're going to talk about his origins. We're going to ask him about some of his favorite music, some of his inspiration when it comes to putting the music on, as we go ahead again and maneuver through the technology. So we appreciate the people in the building. I appreciate my moderator. Thank you, Charity. She is here moderating the conversations in the chat. Thank you to all the people that are here. I see the number. We have quite a few people that are here already. That are here to witness greatness as we host this conversation with the one and only No Expressions representing the Bay Area. While we're waiting for him to join in, there's some amazing things that he has already shared that I want to be able to make certain that we show our fan base here on the podcast. So the first thing I want to talk about is that he is a philanthropist when it comes to Raps for Snacks. This is to help hungry students with Raps for Snacks. This is with his friend Sonny Alvarado. He organized this fundraiser. Students can't learn when they're hungry, and that is so true. They've raised some money, but I'm hoping that my Hip Hop Scholar family, that we can join in and bring some more money in there so that we'll be able to support this movement, not just for hip hop, but for the children as well. Hip hop is for the kids, like Wu-Tang and even Kendrick Lamar says. So we'll talk more about that when he joins us back in the show. Okay, so we do have some conversations in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, we got the link already in the chat. Go the GoFundMe. Let's get those numbers up and make certain that we can support our brother Andrew, better known as No Expressions. And we are being patient because, yeah, technology is great when it works. And sometimes it just doesn't want to let us be great. That's true. But this is a great artist to talk with when it comes to hip hop, when it comes to the history and the legacy of what hip hop truly is. What we also can do, definitely, take the time to review his music. Now, this music, the beats, the melodies, the production that goes along with it, it is quite impressive. And for this podcast, my goal as a podcaster is to showcase music, to showcase these this wonderful sound and arrangement that our guests bring in. And so No Expressions does just that with his music. His music is amazing. It's real, and it definitely talks about the realness and the attributes specific to hip hop. Look like we got No Expressions back in the building. All right, how you doing there, brother?
All right, trying to get reconnected here. You know what I mean? I don't think my dungeon didn't want everyone to see all my records. You can hear me?
And you have, yeah, I can hear you just fine. Yes, sir. I would mostly call that like the Batman cave because you got all the cool things. Can you give a number as to how many vinyl records and when you started collecting those vinyl records?
Yeah, I really don't have a count per se. It's always growing and growing and growing. As far as collecting records, my first record I got was probably Ice-T, I'm Your Pusher on 45. And then I started collecting probably like when I was 12 years old. My older brothers got me into buying records. It was my older brothers that got a turntable first. And then from there, I just gravitated towards it, and I've been buying records ever since. I kind of slowed down though lately because it's expensive, but it's worth it though too. I mean, I'll forever buy records pretty much. It's in me to always buy them. Like anytime I pass by a record store, I gotta go in real quick, exercise them fingers real quick. Sometimes I don't buy some, but a lot of times I do. And yeah, as far as collecting them, I got
yes,
hello.
please continue.
Okay.
Yes, please
Yeah, I was
continue.
gonna say as far as genres, um, I collect everything. It started off with hip hop, but hip hop was able to expand my library because of all the samples that hip hop you know sampled, so jazz, soul, funk, all that. So from hip hop, I've been able to expand my music library pretty much.
And you say library, but it's more like a museum. And I truly hope that people will follow you on your social media page so they can really see that, because you are an archivist, you are a curator, because you have been able to hold on to the decades. And again, that mention of the sampling that hip hop does. Hip hop grows in so many different directions where you can pull in the jazz, you can pull in that rock and roll, you can even pull in that poetry, all different things, and you're curating that into a museum that's really going to benefit the world as you go along. So shout out to you, No Expressions, for keeping up with the
Thank you,
history
thank you,
of hip hop in a very real way. Yes, sir. And you mentioned
thank you, thank you.
Ice T, and I just my went out, man. Thank you, because when you mentioned Ice T, I was just listening to Colors in the car earlier, riding through Third Ward today in Houston, and so I want to ask you. This is a question that I ask all my artists that join me on the podcast. When did you fall in love with hip hop? Was Ice T, was that the first rapper that you heard, especially representing the West Coast? Was it a music video? Was it that cassette tape? Like, what sparked your interest when it came to hip hop?
It started back in '85, and my first song that got me was Run DMC. You Talk Too Much. So the way that came about was I was living in South San Francisco with my dad, and his girlfriend at the time had a son who was older than me, and he had this tape. And before I used to go to bed, my dad would have there's like this little play school radio that he'd put tapes in so I could fall asleep. And then one time, his name was Joey. He was like, "Oh, before you go to sleep, why don't you listen to this?" And he put in a tape, and it was Run DMC. You Talk Too Much. And that was probably like when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And then from that point on, I just got hooked. Like, I just remember walking around the hall, just like saying, "You talk too much, homeboy. You never shut up." And I was just like a little kid,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
saying that. So, and then from that point on, I just fell in love with hip hop. I just was super lucky as far as the timing went and who I was surrounded by. So yeah, that was my first
Right.
introduction to hip hop. I have a song called Naturally High, and if you listen to that song, it will pretty much tell you my whole history of hip hop, as far as what I've been exposed to and how I got started and stuff like that.
Naturally high. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Super
Okay,
dope.
okay,
And
okay.
yeah, because I remember that song. You talk too much and you never shut up. I have older brothers, but they bullied me with that song as well. I remember the song too. And you know what's yeah, man. You know what's crazy though is that you use the word tape, and I know exactly what you're talking about. But in a prior episode, I remember getting a comment because one of the commenters was like, "Well, what is he talking about when he says tape?" So if you could break down what you mean by tape, which we both know it's cassette tape, but go ahead and break that down for our listeners, because there are some that are being introduced to the old school. So I would love to hear your definition of what a tape is, please.
Well, shoot, a tape to me is like, yeah, cassette. You'd have to put it in an actual cassette player. It was done on analog, and you know, you'd have you'd have to go to the store and buy them. But if you didn't have the money to buy tapes, you would go get blank tapes, and you would put your tape in the boom box, and then when the radio station would come on, you would press record, and they would be able to record the song that you wanted from the radio. And that's how I remember getting tapes. As I'm trying to think, the first tape I got might have been, I can't recall. It was like a compilation where it had like Rumors, and it had Run DMC, some Beastie Boys. So yeah, and then as far as tapes too, I remember when the tapes would break, sometimes you would pull the reel out and then you get some clear Scotch tape and then you tape it together and then, you could play the tape. It would play the tape, but when it got to that rip part, it would be just a little bit muffled, but the tape would still play.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if the tapes were played too much, they'd start getting kind of crunchy, and then the tape player would kind of eat it, and then you'd have to pull the tape out, and then you'd have all the reel coming out. Then you got to get like a pencil or your finger, and you're just like this, twisting it and twisting it and twisting it. And once you got it twisted and you put it back and it played cool, you're like, yes. And if it didn't, you're like, I got to go get a new tape.
Yep. Yeah, because there was no ordering online. There was no, I mean, you could order it like through the mail, right? They had the mail order tapes that you could get, but that's a different type of journey of hip hop that this newer generation, they can't really appreciate as we did, because you had to actually get up, go to the store. One of my first jobs, I used to work at Disc Jockey when I was in high school, where we sold the cassette tapes and the CDs, and seeing the people come in, they would ask about the music. One in particular at that time when I was in high school, Cash Money had just came out. Cash Money, as well as No Limit Records, especially growing up in Louisiana. And you would actually be able to talk with people before they would purchase the record. So there was no streaming. There was nothing digital about it. That was much later on when we had the Napster and we could burn the CDs and then create that. But I appreciate you talking about cassette tapes. And I want to say in pre-production, you also still have a cassette player, don't you?
Yes, I do. I still have a cassette player in my truck. And one of the reasons why I did buy my truck, it's an old Toyota, is because it had a tape player. So when I tell people that, they're like, well, you still got tapes? I'm like, yeah. Also, what I want to touch on is back then, you would go to a store and try to buy a tape, right? But sometimes it would be sold out and you wouldn't be able to get it. So you'd have to ask the homies, hey, did you get so-and-so's tape? And they'd be like, nah, but homie recorded it. So then you get a dub, and then sometimes the dub, you get a dub of a dub of a dub, and it's like a fourth generation, bootleg of the tape. And that's how it circulated until it came back in the store. Then you went back to the store, and then you got your fresh original copy.
That's right.
So yeah, back then going to the record store, getting the tapes it was always fun. And I guess probably that's why I still buy records too, because you go in there not knowing what you're gonna get sometimes.
Very true. That's very true. I remember buying The Far Side. I had the single.
Okay.
The single Pork was on the B side of one with, I think, Running, but it was a black cassette tape too. In the chat, we have, I remember getting a dub of Born to Mac.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up.
And we can appreciate that piece. So with your song Naturally High, and just with all of your music, you have so many different albums. I want to share this screen. I shared it earlier, but I also want to talk about this and ask you these questions, not just specific to your music, but also into the inspiration of your music, because you talk very specifically when it talks about the authenticity. Like, that's very strong in your presence and what you say when you present, even when you're shouting out these different shows. How has that principle of authenticity and knowledge of self, how does that influence your music? How do you make certain that you are authentic and you showcase that in every bit of your music?
I think I've just been fortunate to be around folks that would hold me accountable, because I know back when I started, we weren't able to brag or boast on something that you really didn't do, or else folks would check you on it. So like, back then I feel like it was just different. Like if you were talking street stuff or gang stuff, folks would approach you and be like, hey, where are you from? What are you talking about? You got this? Let me see it. And they really press you about it. So I wasn't really involved in all that, but my friends were. But so I was just able to just be myself, and just, I don't know. I just feel like if you're yourself, it just takes you so much farther. And then I just wouldn't feel comfortable lying on a record, talking about this and that when you really don't live it. It's a facade, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
And that's the realness of hip hop. And what I always want for the newer generation to definitely take hold of, you have these, it looks like freehand, also these graphics, specific street signs. It looks like you right here with this socialize with my eyes. That looks like your face that's in there. Like this is
Yeah.
a representation of you. And the importance of it being in that authenticity and that knowledge of self. I mean, what is a message that you would want to share to the newer generations, both now and then even 40, 50 years from now? What do you need for them? What do you need for them to remember about that authentic self when it comes to creating and producing hip hop music?
I would say being yourself. I mean, it, it's so important because, I mean, once you're yourself and you just really let that go, like there's nothing to really hide. There's no image that you really got to protect. Um, and it just comes off better in the long run. There's folks that lie and then they get called out and then they get shut down and then they go in the hole. But like, I would just say being yourself is just so key. But it also like, it takes time to get to like certain places. I wouldn't say I lied on track or anything like that. I've never done that. But as far as like knowledge of self, we all go through different stages in life. So going through those different stages in life, I feel it's important to document those and put that on tape, whatever it is, because everybody, we're all connected in every. I just want to make stuff that's relatable, and I feel like if you're your authentic self, more folks are going to relate to it.
Absolutely. And just like you said, it just makes life easier with that transparency of what you know and what you do, and being around that like-minded people in that environment, and making certain that they hold you accountable, right? It's one thing holding yourself accountable, but having others to hold you accountable, that's also key too. That's a very good point. And so um I mean, I want to say that you are an educator. Would you consider yourself a teacher or an educator at this time? Because I feel very strongly that you are an educator, whether you have a teacher certificate or not, but you are educating minds, you are teaching people. Do you feel like you're able to educate and teach? Is that your role whenever you are promoting shows or going to shows?
Lightweight. I wouldn't want to classify or put myself in a box saying I'm an educator, but I feel like when you're sharing who you are as a person, then I guess, yeah, you are educating people. Um, and that's what I try to do. I like, I feel like I've been through a good amount of stuff and I've experienced a lot of things that I'm able to educate people on what to do and what not to do, per se. I don't want to be Mr. Preacher or anything like that because we all learn at our own pace. But I feel like when you do experience stuff, it's our duty to educate folks and just share whatever we know with the younger generation or the older generation. And I don't know, I think I'm just lucky to be in the generation that I'm in. Because we respected older folks and we would soak up that game that they would tell us. We wouldn't always apply it per se every time, because we were knuckleheads and we had to learn the hard way sometimes. But I still feel like we respected older folks, and I still do to this day, and I always will. It's the older folks, they got so much game, and I'm just thankful that the folks that have taught me well, and I just hopefully what they taught me I could pass down to the younger generation.
And that was a very well articulated answer. I would like to say also that you're being very modest, because on your Instagram page, like, you do teach and you do preach, and it's such a positive and resounding sound, because you are promoting, you do a lot of promotions when it comes to these different shows, and you get people excited. Like, I'm more than certain if I was on the West Coast, it's like, man, No Expressions is there. I gotta be there. I have to be there, because you truly make hip hop like it was back in the Yo MTV Raps and the Rap City, and the recording on the radio with that piece of paper in the cassette tape, if you don't have that tab, days. Like you truly do edify that in a time where digital streaming comes, is what takes over, right? And you do have authenticity, but you do have inauthentic music that's out there today. And so using this podcast to reach scholars like yourself to make certain that, we hold on to that nostalgia, that we hold on to the classics, because they promote such positivity and making that impact that, I want to make that clear to you, sir, that you are making a very positive impact, especially, out here in Houston, Texas, to see you speak and to hear you promote and to see the environment, the curated museum, like you truly do edify everything of the attributes of hip hop. So your modesty shows, but you are so much more than just low weight. You are a heavyweight when it comes to hip hop.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, I just feel.
uh-huh. Yes.
I was gonna say, I just feel that there's just so much negative stuff out in the world, out on the mainstream radio, that it's just saturated with that stuff, and it needs to be saturated with more uplifting stuff, more stuff about self-expression. And I'm just a real believer about self-expression, regardless of it's like, hip hop, if you're rapping, but some type of creative expression, whether it's drawing, singing, doing photography, some type of outlet, because I feel we all need that. And I feel like that's just not promoted enough. So yeah, I always just feel that, that creative expression is so vital. And for me, hip hop was my way of doing that.
And speaking of expression, your stage name is No Expressions. So can you talk to us about the influence of your stage name, No Expressions? Where did that derive from?
Okay. Yeah, so No Expressions used to be spelled N-O, just No Expressions, because I used to just have a straight face. I wouldn't talk. I'd be super quiet. And then my older brother, Nick, he was like, man, that fool always has no expressions. Everyone would be excited and laughing, and then I would just have a straight face. Then my brother's like, man, that's No Expressions. And then so it started off with just an N-O, just No Expressions, just like that, because I always have the straight face. Then as time went by, and you just learn stuff in life, then I was like, oh, let me change it to K-N-O-W Expressions. So it's kind of like it's one name, but it's like three meanings. So it's like No Expressions, like a question, like do you know expressions? And then No Expressions, like a statement, like No Expressions. And then No Expressions, just my personality on being a straight face and keeping it quiet sometimes.
Come on,
So that's
Professor.
how that came about.
Come on, Professor. You talking about you're not an educator. You broke that down so amazingly well. And, shout out to your brother Nick for, giving you that name and it's sticking and,
Yeah.
and you growing into that, right? To the No Expressions and do you know expressions. Man, that's super dope, for real.
Yeah, no, it's funny because, sometimes like when I do like the Instagram, posts and I'm doing stuff, they're like, man, you look hecka silly. And I'm like, to me, part of it is being like, not taking it so serious. And it's funny because they know who I am back then, like back then I was very serious, I wouldn't talk. And now I'm a little more outgoing and I'll be chopping it up with a lot of people now.
Man, you chop it up, you be putting the lyrics down, the rhythms, the rhymes. About how many albums do you have? How many songs have you put together, whether collaborating with someone else or solo projects? Can you put a number to that for us?
As far as like songs, I can't recall how many songs I have. As far as projects, I have, let's see, I can't even put them all together because we used to make CDs back like in 99, 2000, and we would just make like three or four songs, and then we would just hand them out to the homies, and then we never really put it out as an album. We were just kind of like, oh, we made this, here, check it out. And then we started getting a little more serious, probably like 2004. I would say that was like our first time we had like CDs in a store. It was me and my friend Nick, and he went by Perfectionist. And our group back then was called What's Kept, which stands for What's No Expressions and Perfectionist Thinking. And yeah, so we started making, some CDs. He turned his garage into a studio, and it was just like every day we would just link up, go to his house, and write and record right then and there at the spot. And yeah, so it started off with me me actually rhyming actually started off just by freestyling when I was like 14. We'd be in the garage, with my older brothers and my homie JB. And then it was actually JB who was the first one to start rapping. And then Nick, my brother Nick, and then my brother Jeff, Dusty Crates, he would play instrumentals. And then one time JB was like, "Oh, why don't you rap? Why don't you say something?" So then I just started, talking and just started freestyling, and we would just freestyle for hours. I mean, when I say hours, I'm talking about from like 10 at night to like 4 in the morning, just going, just going, just going. And yeah, and then from freestyling, then it started getting into, making songs and stuff.
So you have a lot of underground hits then that are still underground, probably that LimeWire or Napster when y'all burn those CDs. That man, I hope that somebody holds on to those for you and has it like a time capsule. But that freestyling though, so your introduction into creating, your creative process starts with freestyle, and there's a lot of science data that talks about the neurons. There's a lot of neuroscience where that brain and the sparks of the neurons, I mean, they fire heavily when you're freestyling. And for you all to do that for hours, plus that being your first introduction to that, that's a very high level, complicated, complex type thinking. So you're really brilliant. Like you have to be very brilliant, thinking at a very top tier in a very quick time frame in order to be a freestyler. Do you still go into freestyle? Are you a battle rapper? Like, talk to me more about the freestyler in you.
The freestyler in me, I used to go to battles and do like battles and stuff. I always felt though when I would go to a battle, I never did good because I was like always anticipating it too much. But when I would get called out on the street when we're out like outside of a show and we're having like a cipher, and then someone would battle right then and there, then I felt like I always did better because it was just like right on the spot, just spontaneous, and I always felt like I did better like that. And as far as like freestyling at open mics, there was an event in San Francisco on Haight Street. It was at the spot called Rockin' Java, and it was every Monday or every other Monday, and folks would play instrumentals, and then there would be folks just freestyling and just passing the microphone, and yeah, and that spot, that was cool because it wasn't always battling. It was more like just feeding off each other's energy. So that was super fun. And right now there's a new spot out here in Berkeley. It's called Flow Lounge, and it reminds me of that time where the DJ just plays whatever and folks just freestyle off the dome, and they just go and just express themselves. And some people come with some written stuff, but we try to just keep it off the top of the dome. And yeah, it's I'm glad that part of it is coming back. And as far as freestyling, like, to me, going to open mics back then was always just freestyle. Now, when I go to open mics, it's a little different. People have like their set rehearsed and stuff like that. So it's changed a little bit. Um, so I like to, I like doing both. I like doing both.
Yeah, I do see that sometimes, like on social media, they'll have the phone in their hands and they're reading off the phone when they're supposed to be actually freestyling off the dome. The movie 8 Mile showcased that piece where, being able to come off of your thinking in real time, and just like you were talking about too, like you did better in organic situations where it was natural, where it was like, you ready, you rap, then rap, and the microphone is put in your face, and then you're ready to do so, rather there being a full setup, right? And that again is my poise for this podcast, where I'm more interested in the roots of hip hop. Like I want to, you know, put my hands in the dirt to these seeds in this plan of hip hop and really look at the people who edify and are the epitome of it, and the way that you and what you are sharing of yourself, and so naturally, no expressions, is that you are truly the essence of hip hop. You got rhythm in your veins going. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody can freestyle. Just like you said, they're doing things that are written. They're not able to, look at somebody and say something about them and then keep it in the rhyme. And that's such a complex thinking pattern. I can't think of the particular article at this time, but it's science. It is, and it's computational neuroscience. I was sharing in another podcast last week, where I'm reading an article right now on the computational neuroscience by Ron Eglash. He is a professor at University of Michigan, and he talks about the rhythms and the way that it creates and permeates the brain, and how it affects the brain, and how we're able to move and sway to hip hop. And so the creation of those words and how you put it together, that's a whole different type of a level. And I don't want that watered down in the future generations. So it is so important that we have sages like yourself, Andrew, that are really out here, that like I need to make certain that you are in a book, you are in an article, because what you say is so sacred, and what you do is such a very sacred thing when it comes to hip hop, that nobody can take that for granted. And even though it may be easy to,
Thank you.
of course, thank you. I'm more appreciative of you than you may ever be of anyone else, because you definitely are the epitome of every attribute of hip hop. And as easily as it comes, the challenges that you may face, staying true to the culture in this industry. What challenges do you find when it does come to putting on shows or to find different artists? Do you find challenges with any aspects of being able to produce a show or to even produce music? Like, what challenges and even risk taking do you take at those times?
The challenges right now, I would say, it's just trying to keep everything balanced. As we get older, we have more responsibilities. So, having kids, having a job, having a lady, all that, I try to learn to balance it. Sometimes I'm off balance with it, because I like the music so much. The, the challenging part right now is just trying to stay consistent. Like currently right now, I would say as far as creating songs has depleted just a little bit, only because I've put a lot of energy into throwing shows and throwing events. But at the same time, I'm still happy that I'm still involved in hip hop. So regardless if I'm, not making as many songs as I would like to, I'm still involved in hip hop in some other way. And knowing that I'm still involved, I'm still, content with that. And knowing that doing the events and the shows right now it's a new feeling, because I'm meeting more people, and then I'm seeing other like-minded people, doing the same thing. And then from that, then I get inspired to write a song, down the line. Because I've been having some shows, and then I get people coming up to me afterwards saying, "Hey, let's make a song." And then I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's do it." Yeah, so that's where I'm at as far as like the challenging part right now. But yeah, it's weird though. Like lately, pretty much, I would say the last like 3 years, all my stuff, about 85% is all written in traffic. So I have a notepad next to me while I'm driving, right? It takes me about an hour to an hour and a half to get to work, an hour and a half to get back home. So that's 3 hours in the car. So, as I'm driving, I'm jotting down little ideas, little verses here and there. And yeah, so that's what I've been doing lately.
Oh man, let me tell you, out here in
So
Houston,
yeah.
we are familiar when it comes to traffic. That 90-minute commute is a real thing. That is something that's regular Yet I haven't heard anyone say that they're writing as they're in the traffic, right? Like I had this international artist, Neilta Parker, talk about how she'd be on the train or the subway and she's writing or texting or even doing a video note, voice note rather. And then others may, they have to take the time to sit, but you're moving, you're in life when you're writing. So maybe that's also part of your process of being an organic type of a performer or hip hop artist, is that you have to be living life in order for you to be writing. Like you're in the middle of traffic, on the interstate and on a stop and go basis, but having that pen to that paper is powerful. That's a powerful notion there, Andrew, that you're talking about, because being able to have that hand to brain connection and you're writing and you're learning and you're revising and editing, that is a brilliant stance when it comes to composing. You are a composer, yet it has to be a specific organic way for you to be able to do so. Like I think on the flip side, if someone gave you the studio and the studio time and said, okay, you have an hour to put together this song, so go ahead and do it, that's probably more of a challenge to you to have the setup in a studio rather than you walking up the street and getting ready to go to the Flow Lounge in Berkeley. And then, you walk in and you get the taps and you feel the beat and you're like, wait a minute, there we go. And then you start writing. I think you're more so that type where it's organic for you. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Also, too, when I record these days, I like to go into the studio and have it memorized. It's weird. It's weird because when I first started recording, I was able to go right then, right quick, and record all that same night. And then as time went by, I don't know what happened, but now when I record songs, I like to have it memorized because there's just something different as far as like me reading and then try to be on beat. Like I get thrown off. So like nowadays, like I'll have my verses and I practice them and I practice them and I try to have them all memorized before I even go to the studio. And it just comes out better like that, I feel, when I have it all memorized.
Definitely so. In the chat, we have Alicia. She gave you that thumbs up to that notepad. Shout out to Alicia. Thank you so much for joining us. And thinking about that, what I don't want you to, speak ill of anybody or anything when it comes to writing, but I wonder your take on this Chat GPT. Like many people are resorting to using Chat GPT to put their rhymes together, whether they're underground hip hop artists, even mainstream, where in order for them to produce a record, they're moving into using computer generated type of a lyric. So give me your honest opinion. Which is best? Is it the memorizing what you've written, what you have taken the time to revise and edit, or letting the computer put it together and reading it from there?
Yeah, you were breaking up right there a little bit. It sounded like it was breaking up.
I can
I
repeat
think
it.
what you said about Chat GPT, did you
Yeah.
say something like that?
Yeah, like people are using Chat GPT to write
Okay.
their lyrics.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that's a no-no. I ain't gonna say no names because I don't even know cats that do it, or maybe they're doing it on the under and I don't know. That's on them. But like that's one of those things that like you can't be on Chat BB. I can't even say the word. You can't be on there and get something from there, put it down and say like, oh, I created this, check this out. I feel that that's cheating, and I feel like there's certain codes that you got to follow. There's still rules of the game that we got to follow. And I feel like, we got to stick to those codes. At least I got to stick to those codes. I was talking to a homie the other day where like, we were saying when we were growing up, when you would ask a person like, oh, you do music? They'd be like, yeah. And they'd be like, okay, you do music? Let me hear you say something. Say something right then. Let me hear your verse, and folks would spit right then and there. Now, people be like, oh, yeah, I rap. And be like, oh, let me hear something. Like, oh, I can't do it right now. So part of me kind of wants to, take it back. And like, if you say you rap, dude, say something. But yeah, as far as that whole Chat GBT thing, I feel that's cheating. And it's just, an easier way for folks to get over on people and slide by and pretend like, oh, look what I wrote, and and like they're trying to like just go from A to Z without taking the gradual steps, because writing's tough. I still have a hard time with writing. Like, it takes me a while sometimes to write a verse. Sometimes it comes quick, sometimes it comes in a day, sometimes it comes in minutes, sometimes it comes in a couple weeks. So yeah, I'm not into the instant gratification of like, I need this right then and there, and I'm just not into the instant gratification. I feel like the whole uh, chat GBT and the AI is, people they want that instant gratification, and that's what AI and chat GBT does, I feel. And I just feel it's cheating, though. I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
And I agree with
So
you. Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So like, I don't know. So yeah, if you're out there, don't be using that, And
Yeah,
it's funny because like
uh-huh.
folks tell me, like, oh, you know, what'd you write with? And I'm like, dude, I didn't type. I still got my pen and I still got my pad, and that's how I write. Because I feel if I try to write a verse on the phone, I don't know, I just get all distracted sometimes. And I don't know, there's just something with moving my hand, writing, scribbling, and there's just something with that I'll probably always stick to. I can't see myself trying to really type out a verse. I probably couldn't do it. I mean, there was a time at the Flow Lounge, they did have they have like a writing contest, and I wrote on my phone, and I didn't have it memorized. So I was like, all right, let me just try to read it off the phone. And I went up there and I was reading it, and as I was reading it, I was like, man, I'm sounding whack right now reading off my phone. So that was my last time I'm doing that. So I'm gonna stick to having it memorized or just coming off the dome.
There you go. And that was some advice I received a long time ago too. Is memorizing and practicing your own words so that it's yours. So when you do present it to someone else, it's yours to give to them.
Yeah, yeah. And then also too with having it memorized, like I want to be able to perform it, I feel like performing is such a big deal in hip hop. Like, if you're going to be in hip hop, in my opinion, if you're going to be hip hop and you're going to be a rapper, you got to be able to perform it without no back vocals. You got to be able to ride the instrumental, and you got to just be able to perform it. And I feel it's very necessary to do. And I feel like if you don't, I feel it's kind of cheating sometimes when you're up there rhyming over your vocals. It's lightweight karaoke, you know what I mean? And it's kind of having your vocals play. I get it sometimes because people say, oh, it just sounds better, and I get that to a degree. But then you're not allowing yourself to make any mistakes, and you're not allowing yourself to recover from those mistakes if you do make a mistake while performing.
That's right, man. That lightweight karaoke, that's a bar right there. That hits hard. Like, oh, ho, ho. Yeah, lightweight karaoke. And then speaking of performing, you shared with me the Slap Frost tour, right? And that's one of the
Yeah.
things that's happening recently. Although you're doing shows all the time, did you want to talk about the Slap Frost tour to our listeners?
Yeah, so Slap Frost Tour, that's not actually me. That's my homie DJ True Justice, Vocab Slick, and Z-Man. So Slap Frost Tour is an underground tour that they've been doing for 10 years now. They get underground folks and they take them on tour, and they go from city to city, and it's just a real grassroots, down home underground tour. There's like, no corporate backing. They bring all their equipment, and it's just a real grassrooted underground type of tour. And they've been doing it for 10 years. I was able to get on it. I didn't go on tour, but I was able to perform at one of the cities a couple years ago. And yeah, man, the Slap Frost tour is just it's important too, because like it's just really, it captures that independent hustle, and I feel the Bay Area has that hustle in them. I would say it kind of stems from Too Short having the, out the trunk attitude of like, if the mainstream were businesses aren't going to, fund us, and we're going to fund ourselves, and we're going to hustle, and we're going to put stuff out ourselves. And that's what I feel like the Bay Area, at least for me, at least the people that I hang with in the Bay Area cats that I know, we all have that Bay Area hustle. Like, well, if you ain't putting me on, we're going to put ourselves on, and we're not going to wait for nobody. And the Slap Frost tour, that's what they did. Like, there was stuff going on, and they're like, ain't no one putting us on, then we're going to put on our own stuff. And they've been able to do it for 10 years. To be able to do it for 10 years, I got mad respect for DJ True Justice, Z-Man, and Vocab Slick, and all the underground artists that are out here, doing stuff on their own, putting shows on their own, because it's not easy,
Right.
and we're just not gonna wait for folks,
That's
and I
right.
just feel like I've been blessed. I've been super blessed with having that mentality, because out here in the Bay Area, we had Too Short, out the trunk. We had E40 out the trunk. And then we had, Hobo Junction. We had Mystic Journeyman, which is part of the Living Legends. We had Board Stiff from Frisco. We had Selsky from Frisco. And all the people that I grew up listening to, they all had tapes, and they all had tapes that they put out all on themselves, that they funded themselves. So I feel like growing up listening to them, that kind of just, instilled in me like, oh, if they did it, then I could do it too. So that Bay Area hustle, I think it's in a lot of us. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just thankful and grateful for the time that I grew up in. And that's, I'm just super thankful for that, because, a lot of times we're like, oh, well, they're doing it. How come I'm not getting put on? And it's like, dude, we just got to do it ourselves. So that's how the Return of the MC started, which is a series that me and my homie Sunny South do. I met him at a performance in Hayward at the Stax Record Shop, and then he was telling me about how he was going to perform at some place, but they wanted him to pay to perform. And I was like, nah, dude, like, we should, instead of you paying for yourself to perform, let's throw our own show, and let's work like that. So that's what we've been doing. This is our 13th one. It's going on close to 2 years. And, it's kind of, it's an underground. It's kind of, just like how Slap Frost is doing it. We trying to, do Return of the MC. We're motivated by the older folks that, came before us. And what's cool about the Return of the MC is also, we give a platform for folks that are trying to, elevate in their craft. And it's just it's a fun process. Also, too, it's I would say it's a filtering process as far as working with people, because there's some people that we've come across, and like their music is cool and we like their music, but then when we meet them in person, they're like, and so that's like it's a filtering process. So you get to learn like who's taking it serious and who's really about it, as far as being what they say. I'm very like, if you're saying this on the album, be about it in real life. Don't tell me you're a gangster, but then in real life you're not. Don't tell me you're a community person and then you're hecka selfish and you're not sharing with your community, or you're not, uplifting your community. So, like I said, it's a filtering process. But yeah, the Return of the MC, I'm very proud of that. Me and Sunny South have been doing it for close to 2 years. My brother, Nick, Mr. Universal, he's one of the resident DJs, and my homie Def Kid One, he's one of the resident DJs as well. And they both play vinyl. We don't do the controller.
So y'all
We
are the
make it
real ones and twos, huh?
yeah. So they play the vinyl, and those are my older brothers. They're the ones that got me started. If it wasn't for my older brothers and my boy JB, um, I don't know where I would be, you know. And I feel like with hip hop, like, we always got to remember that somebody inspired us to get to where we're at. I know, like, we say independent. When I say independent, I'll say like free from corporate. When I say independent, I don't really mean like I've done this all by myself. No, we got inspired by somebody, and I feel sometimes people they get off track and they think like, oh, I did this all by myself, and it's like, nah, dude, you got inspired by somebody somewhere down the line, and I'm just super grateful for all the people that inspired me.
And you're an inspiration today. Like everything that you're sharing and sharing of others as well. Like you've been very giving flowers to everyone, your family, friends, everybody. You also shared with me your friend Sonny Alvarado's fundraiser as well would help hungry students with wraps for snacks. This GoFundMe, and I made that call at the very beginning when we were having some technical issues about, giving the listeners to the podcast, let's get on here to raise this money. And so talk about Sonny Alvarado and this inspiration for helping hungry students with the wraps for snacks. Talk to us.
Yeah, so Sonny South, the homie that I do the Return of the MC with, he's also a teacher. He's a ninth grade teacher over here in Hayward. And he came up with this wraps for snacks challenge because he has students that come in class and they're super tired sometimes. And he's like, man, I need to feed these kids and give them some energy. So what he created was it's called wraps for snacks. So basically what you do and what you can do is you could donate to the cause and, $5, $2, $10, whatever you can, but it helps feed the students throughout the day. He, would make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the kids, some granola bars for the kids, just to keep them fed throughout the day. Cause, sometimes, growing up, sometimes we just wake up and we rush to school, don't eat breakfast, and we don't really catch the lack of energy that comes with not eating. So he was able to see that within some of his students. So he created this wraps for snacks. And what it is you record a verse, or a poem talking about your hunger as an MC, or like your hunger, like, just like a verse about being hungry, whether you're hungry for change, whether you're hungry literally, and you could rap about some good entrees or something like that. But yeah, if you want to just rap about being hungry, you could be, like I said, you could be a hungry MC, starving for change, or if you had a point in life where you were hungry yourself and you needed some extra food. So yeah, man, the wraps for snacks is it's a cool way to give back to the students, and Sonny had a good response doing it, with his students, and made his students feel like, okay, this is pretty cool. So I'm thankful for that, and I'm proud of him because like I feel like we gotta give our youth, something, and we always got to give it back. We always got to give it back, however it may be. And him being able to feed his students and being a rapper at the same time, I thought was pretty cool. And some of his students, they didn't even know that he was a rapper. One time we were at an event and he was rapping, and then he stopped for a split second. He was like, "Oh man, one of my students is here," and it was super funny. It was pretty cool though. But yeah, Rats for Snacks. If you got some listeners out there that want to jump in and drop a verse, you can, or donate. Also, this time around, so last year you would get like $100 if you won. This year you get $100. You also get a class with TT, the manager, which is like she helps like market folks and help you elevate your craft as far as like marketing. And then you'll also get a performance slot on Return of the MC coming up in January. So yeah, if folks got some bars, and want to rap for snacks, or just do it for the heck of it, do it for the heck of it. But yeah,
That's awesome. That is
do it.
that is such a fantastic thing to create for the kids especially. Thank you to the moderator for posting that in the chat. That link. I also share it on the screen for our listeners. The GoFundMe. I will also say that the Hip Hop Scholar podcast, we will be donating to the GoFundMe as well. We'll make certain that that's done at the conclusion of the recording for sure. Like that is an amazing thing, like you talked about earlier, the grassroots. And that's, again, another pillar of hip hop, is creating opportunities for people to thrive in situations where you can't really see a goal, where students not only go to school hungry, they're at home hungry, and they don't think anyone cares or anyone listening. But you all are not only hearing them, but using your gifts and your talents to try and make a difference. And again, that's an amazing thing, Andrew, that you all are putting together. And I thank you so much for sharing it with us here on this podcast, sincerely. And I want I want to ask you too, if you had a school, because you are an educator, right? And I am telling you now, based on my credentials, like I deem you a certified educator, right? And you have so many people. You got Nick, you got Jeff, you got JB, you got Sonny, you got the people on the Slap Frost tour. If you had a school, and the school could be of hip hop and you could teach hip hop, what would the name of that school be, and how would you teach that to your students?
What would be the name of the school?
Yeah, let's start there. What's the name of
Is
the
that what you said?
school? Yes.
I would probably just have to call it Expressions, but I believe that I think there's a school already called Expressions. But I would probably call it something with expressions, something along that name would be involved in the name of the school.
That's right. And
So yeah,
what would the motto be? What would be that motto or that creed for your school and your students?
what would be the motto? I would just say express it all. Express it all. Good, bad, happy, sad. Let it all out. Express it all out. Let it all out, and then you move on. I feel like when we don't express ourselves, we hold it in, and then it comes out in our behavior in a certain way. And when you let it out, you just keep it moving. You just keep it moving.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. So well said. And there's so much more to No Expressions. I wish we had so much more time. I want to honor your time this evening. And I want to welcome you back on the Hip Hop Scholar podcast for sure. To come back and speak with us. You can bring along your brothers, your friends, and definitely my moderator Charity and I, we definitely got to get out there to Berkeley and even to one of you all's events and see that in real time, because you have really blessed us with your genius today, Andrew. You have so much success.
Thank you.
You have so much wisdom when it comes to what hip hop was and what it shall be in the future, that I definitely encourage you all to keep going, keep moving forward, and to make certain that hip hop stays alive, because everything you said, whether it's, freestyling, writing from the heart, expressing yourself, staying true to you, and even for those causes that help others, that again is the epitome of what hip hop is. And I thank you so much for being who you are and being everything that hip hop is as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then also too, like if folks that throw shows or events, I'm down to take a flight over to Texas. You know what I mean? Anytime. So I'm just trying to right now, trying to spread my horizon and who I could connect with, because a lot of us are connected. We just don't know it because we stay kind of like sheltered. But if once you let down those walls and you step outside, there's a lot more connection than disconnection, and that's what I'm try to do right now.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there's always shows out here in Houston and Texas and Louisiana for sure. We'll link you to those and get you on the way for there. And there's all over the nation. And I know the Hip Hop Scholar family, they'll be able to showcase that with us. Matter of fact, tomorrow we're hosting a live with some rappers from Germany. So it's happening all over
That's
the
what's up.
world. Yes, the crazy ones, Moreno and Alina. I'll be talking with them about hip hop in Germany, and it's such a not only local, but it's a global thing. And I am so thankful to show No Expressions to the world on my podcast, because you are brilliant, you are a genius, you are an educator. And I encourage you so much so, and any support that the Hip Hop Scholar podcast can give you, No Expressions, and everything you do, please feel free to reach out to us. All right?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for having this podcast. I feel like the questions that you ask and the way you carry yourself is very respectable, and that's very important. It ain't like no silly willy funny type stuff, you know. So I appreciate, you know, the seriousness that you're taking it, because, you know, sometimes folks be taking it lightly, and I don't take hip hop lightly, and I don't think you do too. So I appreciate what you're doing, and you reaching out to me and reaching out to other folks, and the questions that you ask and have asked prior guests. I'm like, oh yeah, she got something to say. She ain't just talking about how many blunts you smoked today, you know. It ain't nothing like that. So it's some real stuff. So I thank you. I thank you.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Real recognizes real for sure. And man, you just keep going because you are very noticeable, and I pray all your dreams come true. And we'll be in contact. This is not the last
Thank you.
time. This is just our first time.
Yes,
And
yes.
and Hip Hop Scholar family, I will see you definitely on the next installment. Shout out to No Expressions. Be certain to donate to that fundraiser for Sonny Alvarado. If you can go to the Slap Frost tour, be certain to do so. And definitely see you on the next one. Peace. We out of here.
Yes, yes.